This is Rabbi Chaim Steinmetz with Sermons for Snowbirds, Parshat Beshalach, the year 5775. My message today is about the good German and the good German. There's a fascinating Rashi in Parshat Beshalach which describes the punishment meted out against the Egyptian soldiers as they drowned in the Red Sea. So as Rashi describes it, they were drowned in three different methods, from painless to very painful. And Rashi says the Ksherim, the good Egyptians, were drowned immediately. And when you read Rashi, you begin to puzzle, what does it mean to be Ksherim, to be a good Egyptian? Is it a relative term? So I actually learned the answer to this question when I had a visiting speaker at my class this past Friday. Judge Thomas Walther is a retired judge and is now a co-plaintiff in what is probably the final prosecution of a Nazi war criminal, Oscar Graining. And Thomas Walther spoke to the class and explained to us that Graining over the years has diminished what his actions were. Graining was known as the Buchhalter of Auschwitz. He was the one who was the bookkeeper. He stood on the platform as the trains came in. He made sure that the Jews were relieved of their money. He counted it up. He allowed the Nazis to have a smoother time as they ran the horrible death factory at Auschwitz. And Graining's defense over the years has been essentially he was brainwashed, and all he was a small cog in a very large machine. And from the description of Graining that Walther gave to our class, I began to understand what it means when Rashi says that there were good Egyptians. Because there were good Egyptians and there were good Germans. There were people who cooperated with the Nazi regime because they were fundamentally good. They felt that they were patriotic and they had to support their government. They were loyal people. They were doing what they were supposed to. And indeed, character traits that in other contexts are positive. Loyalty, patriotism, efficiency, caring for those around you, in Auschwitz became actually quite malevolent and quite dangerous. And this is really what I think what Rashi means when he talks about the good Egyptians. There were Egyptians who could say, perhaps, that they never killed any of the Jews, that all they were doing were trying to do what was proper according to the standards of Egyptian society. What is fascinating about Rashi is that Rashi doesn't completely ignore this moral argument, but Rashi explains that even the good Egyptians are just as culpable for murder as those who were not so good. If you are part of a regime that kills, then you, even if you individually think what you're doing is good and you're trying and striving to be a good person, being part of a killing machine makes you into a killer, even if you are a small cog. Now, this is one type of good German, one type of example that we get from the context both of Egypt and Germany. But there is another idea of being a good German and being a good person. And this idea actually is based on a question that I love to come back to. Ibn Ezra's question. Ibn Ezra wonders, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, the one who leads the Jews to salvation, why is it that he grows up in Pharaoh's house? And it's a very interesting literary question, and Ibn Ezra puts it that why is it that destiny, that the divine insight brings it that Moshe has to grow up in the house of the Pharaoh? And perhaps here we get another answer. The answer is that Moshe had to learn how to be good in the larger context, how to break away from just being a loyal foster son, break away from just being part of Pharaoh's household, and understand that goodness is judged on a higher scale than just, am I doing what's right by the people around me? And I learned this lesson about breaking away in order to be good from what Thomas Walther had to say. He explained that for years he's been pushing prosecutions of the last Nazi war criminals that are still alive. And very often when he would push too far, other German prosecutors would look at him and say, have you thought about what Israel is doing? As if somehow their understanding of the criticisms of Israel can exonerate every Nazi war criminal. And Walther had to overcome a great deal of social pressure to pursue this particular case. And he is not the first one in his family to do so. When you ask Thomas Walther about his own German background, he was born in 1943. What was your family doing? So he explains proudly that his father Rudolf, during Kristallnacht, hid and helped escape 2 Jewish families. And here you have a father and a son who understand what it truly means to be a good German. There's one level of goodness in which you fit into your context and you follow conventional values. And then there's another level of goodness where you have the vision and insight to understand what is moral, even when everyone else around you is pursuing evil. Yes, there were good Egyptians, as Rashi says. Yes, there were Germans who were doing what they thought was good. But in actuality, to be good, one must pursue morality in every context and not be blinded by bonds of friendship or by social pressure to bow to evil. Have a wonderful day, and I hope those of you that are in Florida are having a very warm day as well.